he fought far under the living earth, where time is not counted. Ever he clutched me, and ever I hewed him, until at last he fled into dark tunnels. They were not made by Durin's folk, Gimli son of Glorn. Far, far below the deepest delvings of the dwarves, the world is gnawed by nameless things. Even Sauron knows them not. They are older than he. Now I have walked there, but I will bring no report to darken the light of day.
After Gandalf returns to Middle-earth as Gandalf the White, he hesitantly speaks of his encounter with the Balrog, Durin's Bane, following their fall from the bridge of Khazad-dûm. It is here when Gandalf references creatures dwelling far below the deepest delving of the dwarves, gnawing the world, nameless things. This specific reference has led to decades of talk surrounding them. In this video I would like to share my thoughts on these creatures, providing my own answers to questions like, what are the nameless things? How can they be older than Sauron? Why is Gandalf hesitant to speak of them? Could the Watcher in the Water be one of them? What are the nameless things? Unfortunately, those hoping I'd have found some explanation of these creatures from some hidden Tolkien manuscript will be disappointed. We really do not know what they are, or what they even look like, and that is of course by design. The very fact they are nameless tells us that we can't outright say what they are, or even fully imagine what they could be. Tolkien did not explain these creatures in any letters or any books. The fact they are nameless, and so mysterious, adds to the horror of them. Some other ancient forces exist in the world. Not orcs, trolls, dragons, balrogs, or even dark lords. Other things are there, and Tolkien may have imagined such creatures, or versions of them, back when he was writing The Hobbit. Even in the tunnels and caves the goblins have made for themselves, there are other things living, unbeknown to them, that have sneaked in from outside to lie up in the dark. Some of these caves too go back in their beginnings to ages before the goblins, who only widened them and joined them up with passages, and the original owners are still there in odd corners, slinking and nosing about. As an avid reader of H.P. Lovecraft, the nameless things strike me as possibly Lovecraftian in nature. I don't say that Tolkien meant this, but that they are merely an example of what I would think of as one aspect of Lovecraftian horror. Those familiar with his works will know of unspeakable monstrosities, quite literally unspeakable in many cases, with otherworldly titles, motives or lack of, and appearances. The incomprehensible, frightening to the point of uncontrollable madness. The nameless things, to me, relate to the unknowable, the ancient, perhaps that which can't be comprehended by those Gandalf speaks to. And Tolkien didn't only reference such nameless forces in The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings. In Nan Dungorthun, where nameless gods have shrouded shrines in shadow's secret, more old than Morgoth or the ancient lords, the golden gods of the guarded west. While I don't think Tolkien was at all inspired by Lovecraft in his creation of these nameless things in The Lord of the Rings, talk of nameless gods and shrines to them, older than even Morgoth, certainly evokes that feeling. These nameless things beneath Moria are but one aspect of an ancient mystery within creation. It's certainly possible that Tolkien's vast knowledge of myth and the sagas of Northern Europe could have influenced him here. We have plenty of examples of its influence in his writings, from the names of many dwarves in The Hobbit, trolls turning to stone, to his use of worms as dragons, Ormur as they are known in Norse mythology. The nameless things and their gnawing of the world, deeper than its known depths, could be a reference to Nidhogr, or Nidhogg, a dragon or serpent that gnaws the roots of the world tree, Yggdrasil. This dwells at the root of the tree, while an unnamed eagle dwells at its peak, which is interesting when thinking of the elder king, Manwe, and his great eagles, sitting atop the highest peak in Arda, Taniquetil, the holy mountain. Other mysteries do exist in the Legendarium. Elves have guessed at the nature of Ungoliant, an evil spirit that took on a physical form resembling a spider. A mysterious creature with a possible theory of where she came from, but with her true nature seemingly being lost on the elves. There, beneath the sheer walls of the mountains and the cold, dark sea, the shadows were deepest and thickest in the world. And there, in Avathar, secret and unknown, Ungoliant had made her abode. The Eldar knew not whence she came, but some have said that in ages long before she descended from the darkness that lies about Arda, when Melkor first looked down in envy upon the kingdom of Manwe, and that in the beginning she was one of those that he corrupted to his service. Even a named creature like Ungoliant is unknown, an apparent spirit of evil crawling out the darkness surrounding the world, choosing to then dwell within it. Would Ungoliant be truly unique in her position in the world? How many spirits would dwell in and outside of known creation? Ungoliant was a name given to this being, but even that name just means dark spider, and it's hardly what she would call herself if she had a name. That spider of evil becoming known to the world and being given a suitable name by those within it. Nameless things dwelling beneath the earth, never seeing the light of day and never being disturbed. Why would they be anything but nameless? However, Sauron knows them not. How is this possible when Sauron took part in the music of the Ainur, the song that took place before the concept of time, before the material universe was created? This can possibly be answered by thinking about time for just a moment. The timeless halls and the void are outside of known creation, outside of time. After the music, the Ainur were given a vision, observing gold, silver, iron, stone, winds and air, the roaring of the sea, and the result of the discordant elements of Melkor's contribution to the music: frost, heats without restraint. Eru declared that he knew the desire of their minds, and that what they had seen should not reside only in their thought, Melkor included. Eru then said, Ea, let these things be. Then there was unrest among the Ainur, but Iluvatar called to them and said, I know the desire of your minds, that what ye have seen should verily be, not only in your thought, but even as ye yourselves are, and yet other. Therefore I say, Ea, let these things be, and I will send forth into the void the flame imperishable, and it shall be at the heart of the world, and the world shall be, and those of you that will may go down into it. It was then that the known world was created, with some of the Ainur choosing to descend into creation. They arrived in a world that was unshaped and dark, with the visions from before being a foreshowing, a perception of the world that they must achieve. Couldn't this explain why certain beings could exist that are technically older than Sauron? Beings brought into existence at the moment of its creation, before the descent of the spirits of the Ainur from outside of time. The discord of Melkor being adopted into the music itself, possibly resulting in creatures of discord, gnawing at the world forever, being unconcerned with anything else except never-ending destruction of this newly created world. Beings of unexplainable malice and malevolence, just as other beings of benevolence could exist through the harmonious music of the rest of the Ainur. They are older than Sauron because they have dwelt in the world longer than he has. They have been there from the beginning and have never left it. They will possibly remain there until its end, again making them seem like unknowable horrors, with a nature that is beyond our understanding, with no ambitions of power or dominance. They dwell under the earth in depths of impenetrable darkness, eating away at the world, nameless things. Why would Gandalf hesitate to speak of them? Well, I hope I've explained just how unsettling these things would be to those who can scarcely comprehend the evils they are facing in their own journey. What could Gandalf say about them? It could be a case of names carrying power, how it can strengthen evil and dishearten good. Speaking of these foul things serves no purpose. With words having very real power, enough to produce results in the physical world, as Gandalf himself even demonstrates on more than one occasion, let them remain nameless. We have some examples of the power of names in the Legendarium. Sauron is a name given to him by his enemies. They have long forgotten his real name, or they never knew it, but many no longer use it. His enemies speak of him as accursed and abhorred, or as they would prefer, they do not name him at all. He becomes a nameless foe.
I have heard of the great ring of him that we do not name, but we believe that it perished from the world in ruin of its first realm.
This stretches to his dark land of Mordor. What harm could there be in speaking a simple name of a location? The name Mordor seems to bring a feeling of dread and fear to those who hear it. The Ringwraiths attack Bree and demand that the door be opened to them in the name of Mordor. Aragorn uses the name to strike fear in the heart of Barlam and Butterbur, telling him that these Black Riders come from Mordor. From Mordor, Barlaman, if that means anything to you. The Ranger is even apprehensive of its name being spoken in broad daylight. It is a name to be whispered or spoken far from those who serve that evil. By speaking it, you draw evil to you. The power of names and words is something I'd rather discuss in a video of its own, but I think you get the point. Gandalf opening the eyes of others to true despair and darkness when he is attempting to bring hope in a troubled time wouldn't be wise. They will remain nameless and out of sight.
I felt that something horrible was near from the moment I let my foot first touch the water, said Frodo. What was the thing? Or were there many of them? I do not know, answered Gandalf, but the arms were all guided by one purpose. Something has crept or has been driven out of dark waters under the mountains. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world. He did not speak aloud his thought that whatever it was that dwelt in the lake, it had seized on Frodo first among the company.
Beneath the eastern walls of Moria, a tentacled creature lurked and attacked the company of the Ring. With luminous pale green appendages, it is only referenced in the book of Mazarbul as the Watcher in the Water. Could this creature be one of the nameless things? Technically, this creature is a nameless thing. Watcher in the Water is not who or what it truly is, much like the mouth of Sauron would have had a name originally. This creature does not have a name, and Gandalf does not know what it is, nor do the dwarves. He speaks of it crawling out of dark waters under the mountains, and says there are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places. It is possible that this is just another unknown horror, perhaps even less horrific than the creatures Gandalf witnessed after his fall in Moria. Gandalf never says that the creatures he witnessed below were the same as the one that attacked them outside of Moria. This isn't the strongest evidence, of course. Why couldn't it just be one of many types of creature that exist? A collection of unique creatures of different shapes and sizes. That may even add to the horror of what Gandalf witnessed. I lean towards it being something different, since it did seize the Ringbearer first. I imagine the nameless things below being so far removed from the matters of the world, just as Lovecraft's Azathoth gnaws hungrily in inconceivable unlighted chambers, the blind idiot god unconcerned with anything, especially concepts of individual power. The nameless things being unconcerned with these matters. With Tom Bombadil being unconcerned in matters of power, couldn't other dark creatures exist that share a similar attitude? The nameless things are left to our own imagination. They could be enormous, tentacled, twisted in shape, too incomprehensible to imagine. They could be the result of discord, or failed experiments of Morgoth before the arrival of Sauron. Anomalies like Ungoliant or Tom Bombadil, or evil spirits of malice who never attuned themselves to the original Dark Lord, with motives we don't understand. What we do know is that they are unknowable, they are nameless, and this means they can't be categorized or explained. To explain these nameless things would detract from that feeling of despair and dread shared to us by Gandalf. Let them remain nameless.